this edition of ONME Sunday Mornings. This edition has been brought to you by Don't face the law by yourself. Call lawyers ASAP. With over 30 years of experience advocating for clients, get the most favorable outcome for your case. Call 1-888-524-6018, 1-888-524-6018. And welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. We have a lot in store for you, this program, and my name is Julie Deli Najib. I'll be your host for today. And some of the things we want to start out with and let you know about, of course, are always local news, California news, national news that's happening around. After that local national news, we're going to get right into our political segment. This week we feature a political segment, and our special featured guest host is Mel Sanders. He will be on enlightening us about the upcoming elections and things we need to be aware of and why we need to be a part of the vote, and also talking about the importance of the black vote. Mel Sanders will also be part of our Valley Black Talk Radio election correspondence from now until that November 4th date. And if also some information I want to let you know about our trailblazers. People are asking us, how do they give us information about a trailblazer they might know in their community, who they are fond of? Doesn't matter if you're in Merced, Madera, Fresno, anywhere in the Central Valley. We want to know about them. So go to our site, amptvnow.com, and there's a place where you can submit your trailblazer. And we want to make sure we highlight them just like we did last month. So every month we highlight a trailblazer, preferably male and female, that have done work in the community and that tirelessly do work in the community without looking for reward. So again, go to our website, amptvnow.com. Also, if you want to tell us what's going on around your town, there here in the Central Valley, you can send us an email at media@amptvnow.com. Media@amptvnow.com is where you can submit your press release, information about a news story, pictures, and even some video. And we would like to highlight on this show what is happening in and around the San Joaquin Valley. Well, let's get right to some of those topics. Our first local information we want to give you has to do with those election dates. This is important because we want to make sure you are a part of the process. Now, we know that October 7th is when they mail out those ballots. So start looking in your mail thereafter, anytime October 7th on. And October 21st will be the deadline to register to vote. Very important that you register in a timely fashion because the last day to do that is October 21st. October 29th will be the last day to request a vote by mail ballot. And November 4th, of course, is the general election day. Election offices. Here's where you can find those. In Fresno County, you can go to 2221 Kern Street. That's 2221 Kern Street in Fresno, California. In Tulare County, you can go to 5951 South Mooney Boulevard. 5951 South Mooney Boulevard. Kings County, 1400 West Lacey Boulevard. 1400 West Lacey Boulevard. Madera County is 200 West 4th Street. Again, in Madera is 200 4th West Street. And Merced County is 2222 M Street. Again, Merced County is 2222 M Street. And Mariposa County is on 4982 10th Street. 4982 10th Street. Well, we know that Fresno City Hall has a lot of stuff on their plate. Speaking of plate, they are looking at the California high-speed rail budget where they have to have a consultant come in and tell them about the routes. Well, that's going to cost about $1 million. What's the problem with that? Well, we're not sure if it'll come out of the tax dollars. And that was one of the concerns, and the concerns of community members, even concerns of some of the council members that are trying to figure out where that $1 million is going to come from. Now, there will be a vote that will take place on August 21st, I believe it is. August 21st is the date where they will vote and talk about the California high-speed rail. And the importance of having this consultant is to be able to map out where these stations will be in Fresno and I guess throughout the route of the California high-speed rail. They're going to have to know that, and it's going to cost quite a bit of money to really map and plan that out. And so the decision is going to have to be, is this going to come from taxpayers' dollars? Because I don't think that the taxpayer is wanting to be taxed, California being the high tax state as people know it. Something we'll have to look at the outcome and see what the Fresno City Council will vote on with that. In California news, this is something that it's been in the news quite a while because it hit YouTube first. A lady was beaten by a California highway patrol on the side of the road. And this is what technology can do for you. It can be for you or against you. People were filming on the side of the road when this woman was getting beat by the California Highway Patrol repeatedly, over and over again in the face, as you see in the video right now, something that she was unable to control. This video lasted for 15 seconds, getting beat by the Highway Patrol. And she will be suing at this point, and her name is Marlene Minnock. 51-year-old Marlene Minnock will be suing because she felt that her from the passing motorist, not only was she getting beaten repeatedly, and even though the cops that have not released the name of the California Highway Patrol said that she was putting her life in danger, I don't know if that warrants getting beat repeatedly in the face and punched in the face like that. And so she will be suing for that because she feels that her body was exposed. And so she has recently filed a civil rights lawsuit. And there are a lot of witnesses in this case with their cameras. Sometimes that's how it is. Now, normally we do our book of the week and film of the week at the end of this program, but like we said, we'll be having a special guest, Mel Sanders, who will be on the program to enlighten us about the latest elections. We hope that you check out a book that features a ballerina, an African-American ballerina, one of the second soloists in the American Ballet Theater. And the book is called Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina, featuring Misty Copeland, who tells about her story coming from poverty in San Pedro, California, all the way to New York City to the Opera House. And this is encouraging, especially for those young ballerinas, those brown and black young ballerinas that one day also want to be a ballerina. She also talked about the racism that she went through in trying to become a ballerina, from them talking about her chest size and saying that it was out of proportion, to her leg size, saying that her muscle build was, too muscular. The things that designated, and she saw obviously as racism because she was African American. We hope you check that book out. Again, Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina. And this features Misty Copeland. An enlightening story. A film we'd like to tell you about is our movie of the week, Single Moms Club. Tyler Perry's movie, Single Moms Club, of course, features Tyler Perry, Nia Long, some other names you might be aware of, Wendy McLendon-Covey. And you see these 5 moms that are from totally different backgrounds, and they come together, unlikely, but they do come together, and they find that they have some of the same challenges that they do as any other single parent, trying to raise a preteen at that. Some things that seem the same are the temper tantrums and also how they cope with life. You have one mother who's a lawyer and chose to be a single parent and still has to deal with the same struggles. Another mother who's dealing with 2 or 3 other little ones and has to somehow make it on her own, as she's just been divorced by her husband, who is a lawyer and has not left her any alimony. You have another woman that is an entrepreneur and trying to raise her son on her own, with the father not in his life, making empty promises. And another mother whose husband is incarcerated and is not coming out anytime soon. So to have all these women all in the same room at the same time, doing an unlikely task, an unfortunate task, due to what some of their kids have done at school, now have to come together and find a way to make it. But it's interesting to find that all walks of life still have the same problems when you're trying to raise a preteen or a teen. So there are some laughable moments and some heartfelt moments. So suggest don't take someone out on a date to watch this particular movie. Maybe just sit back, eat some popcorn, or have a sandwich while you're watching this movie that definitely has the realism. Tyler Perry's Single Moms Club. Check it out. After the break, we will be talking to Mel Sanders, our guest host, who will give us more insight about these local upcoming election and why we need to be a part of that vote. So stay tuned. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back.
Happy lives that can change in an instant. If you've been injured in an accident that wasn't your fault, it can shatter your life. If you're currently in a lawsuit but need money right away, can you afford to wait years for your suit to settle? Now you can get the money you need in as little as 24 hours from Oasis Legal Finance. You may have medical bills, rent to pay, car payments, even simple day-to-day expenses. You need help now. At Oasis, there are no out-of-pocket fees, no payments until your case settles, and no obligation to repay if you do lose your case. So there's absolutely no risk. Call Oasis right now to see how much money you could get before your case settles. Once approved, Oasis can get you your cash in as little as 24 hours. The sooner you call, the sooner you can start putting your life back together.
Don't wait. Call Oasis Legal Finance at 1-800-326-9772 right now.
MPTV Community Calendar brought to you by Salam Seafoods, Yogurt Etc., and Watts Family Grill.
African-American sculptor and multimedia artist Mildred Howard will be featured at the Fresno Museum's Council of 100 Distinguished Women Artists for 2014 from September 26 to January 4th, 2015. For more information, go to fresnoartmuseum.org. The African American Museum will have a Founders Day celebration and membership drive Saturday, September 20th at 5 p.m. Admission is free. Come to 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California to join in the celebration. Save the date, Saturday, September 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Jack and Jill of America Incorporated Fresno chapter will have waffles, wings, and blingy things at the African American Museum, located on 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California. Vendor booths, tickets are available. Call or text for more information, 559-803-5182.
To submit your event to the AMPTV Community Calendar for consideration, sign up as a member at ebtradio.org. It's free, and post your event on the online calendar ebtradio.org.
You never know when, but thieves can steal your identity and turn your life upside down.
Hi.
Hi. You know, I can save you 15% today if you open up a charge card account with us.
You just read my mind.
Just one little piece of information, and they can steal your credit, your money, and ruin your reputation. That's why you need LifeLock to help stop crooks before your identity is attacked. And now you can have the most comprehensive identity theft protection available today. LifeLock Ultimate. So for protection you just can't get anywhere else, get LifeLock Ultimate.
Call 1-800-748-6976 or go to lifelock.com and try LifeLock Protection risk-free for 60 days. No risk means there is no reason to wait another minute. Use promo code COVER. Get LifeLock Protection risk-free for 60 days. Protect what you've earned. Call 1-800-748-6976. Use promo code COVER.
AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley on CBS 47, Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news.
AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib, your host, and I'm here with a good friend of mine and guest host, Mel Sanders. I've been trying to get him on the show forever, so I'm so glad to have you here, Mel. He likes to hide in the shadows, right?
No, not really. I'm just, slow to respond.
Okay, or we'll just call him a busy guy.
Well, we love fishing, so sometimes when you call us to be on the show, Kato and I, we want to hang out at the fishing hole. So, but when Julia calls, we usually have to answer at some point. So,
if not, I'll just keep calling.
Here. Yeah, we're here. So we're glad to be here.
Well, we're glad that you're here because we want to talk about some issues in the community. Of course, we want to talk about Valley Black Talk Radio first.
Yeah.
Because people don't know. They didn't know why we were we're not on the air, and then we'll get to election stuff afterwards. So why don't we delve right into that? Valley Black Talk Radio.
Valley Black Talk was on our local public radio station for a number of years, over 10 years. And it was a program that was growing in a listening audience, and it was very appreciative by the African American community because we dealt with issues that you wouldn't hear on any other radio station. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was in depth. You know, we talked about things that other stations or other programs wouldn't do or the local media, primarily the traditional media, would write about it in another perspective. So we had an opportunity with Valley Black Talk to really kind of drill down and share with the listeners and folks in the community exactly what was going on from our perspective as African Americans.
It was all about the valley.
Yes, and it had a huge signal. I mean, if you just want to go north and south, it stretched from south, just north of Merced to just south of Bakersfield. So it was a huge area for the listeners. So we had a good time of sharing with folks in those areas and picked up kind of what we call them our local correspondents who would call in on a regular basis and share with us what was going on in other communities within the African American communities in other cities rather. And so, it's something that we
it's
felt
needed
good about.
though, right? It's still something that we wanted to bring back.
And let me say this. The name for Valley Black Talk, let me say this, folks, was given to us by Julia Delinaji. The program was originally called Valley Politics when we started, and when we branched out, we tried to come up with another name, and we had to do it rapidly. So I called her to Julia. Julia, do you have a name for us? The name? And she said, oh yeah, Valley Black Talk. And so that stuck, and it worked, and people knew us by that name. And thank you.
You're welcome. But I like to thank Woody Miller, some of those, I say the foundation, right?
Yeah.
Remember when the show was just 30 minutes? And then
it was 3 to 3:30 every Monday evening, afternoon rather, from 3 to 3:30. And a good friend of ours is the one that allowed us to start this, the late Mark Scalzo, who was very friendly to our community and really wanted to make sure that there was a voice that was heard on the airways around the Fresno and the surrounding areas. And so he invited Woody Miller, Wally Porter, and myself to join him.
I missed those
on
two. Well, they
Valley
would go
Politics.
at it though.
Oh yeah, and we had good conversations on those shows back in the day. And then his idea was to expand it. He said, look, I'm busy, I'm doing so many other things. How about if you guys just take it and expand this program? And when we did that, that's when we contacted you. We invited you to come on a couple times, and all the guys were saying, hey, we need to have her here on a regular basis. So it wound up you being a regular host on the program, and we appreciate that. And so we expanded and brought some other folks in to really kind of show that we had a broader base of information sharing that we could provide for folks. And so it worked out very well for a number of years until about...
that was June.
Yeah, a couple months ago.
June. Yeah.
How much we want to talk about that?
We have the opportunity to tell the audience now what happened, because I know they've been waiting, and someone just stopped us as of recent asking what happened.
Yeah, they. One of the things that was I guess a problem for us is that there was a lack of understanding, in my view, of the importance of the information that was going out to the African American community from the management of KFCF. And so it took, I guess we'd had several years to go back, but maybe 5 years ago, there was a major problem that before you guys were really involved with Valley Black Talk to the extent that you were, with one of the station managers. And he and I had some difficult times, and I was also a board member at that time. And he accused me of trying to use my position on the board to try to dictate the program and circumvent some things that are already part of the policy, which was, absurd. But later we found out it was just a situation where he really wanted to be in charge. He just wanted to have his fingers in everything, and rather than let folks do what they do, because they're volunteers. Nobody got paid. We were volunteering. We weren't getting paid.
But we enjoyed doing that.
It was a great time. We had fun, doing it, and we were, folks would just see us it was surprising because people would see you and you would, they know your voice. Yeah. And they would come up to you and ask you, are you someone? Well, how'd you? Well, I listen to your program. Oh, okay. Well, great. But long story short, we had a situation where we had to. We wanted to do a program, and matter of fact, your program, one of the programs that you were on the second Monday of the month, and you wanted to extend your program for an additional, I believe it was 2 hours. And
we have done that before.
Yes, it wasn't unusual, and so you made the request. Well, I made the request. I was the veteran of the team, so I made the contact to the station manager, and I said, listen, we have a special program that they'd like to do tonight, Valley Black Talk, and we'd like another additional 2 hours. And when I shared, he said, well, what is it? And I shared with him what it was. And he just simply said, well, I don't think that warrants another 2 hours. Why don't you just take it and stretch it out over you guys are on every Monday evening. Just take it and stretch it out over your Mondays.
But we had a lot of stuff to cover that evening, if you recall.
It was right after the election.
Right.
And we had already scheduled some folks to discuss the election results and where do we go from here and that kind of thing. So we wanted to take more time to really delve down into the item that was on hand at that point. And you had gotten some calls from some folks who had set up some special things.
Yeah.
That was
this
gonna
is the
make a
breaking
difference.
news, because at that time it was the anniversary of O.J. Simpson.
yeah.
It was a lot of stuff. It was
Yeah.
in all the other news networks.
Yeah, everybody
so it
was-
wasn't that it wasn't newsworthy.
Right,
I'm
right.
just saying,
Well, and that
someone
was the
said
comment.
that.
Yeah, that was a comment back to us that he didn't think that was newsworthy, and yet everybody else was doing it. So, me kind of being clumsy with the words, when he told me that, I said, "Well, Julia," he says, "Well, Mel, did you explain to him exactly what?" I said, "Well, no, I didn't tell him that, Julia."
But should we have had to tell him all that? And should they have really have had to judge whether something was newsworthy?
Well, you know, giving them the benefit of the doubt, you shared with them. But for them to say, see, in a public radio station, you're not locked into the same constraints as a private station, a commercial station, that's trying to increase their listening audience, and they got to sell commercials, and they got to make sure they're not offending anybody and that kind of thing. That's not the case in a public radio. So we had an opportunity to really kind of, you know, do some things that would have really benefited that particular station, because it was, you know, nobody else was doing it around it. The information you'd gotten and the connection you'd made would have been a benefit, and what frankly was a benefit to the radio station. So it would have worked out. So to say that I don't think this is worthy, kind of, you know, just kind of slaps in the face of what you think African Americans should be listening to or what should be important to them. So we made a decision after that program to say, well, until the board, which is the governing body that determines whether or not decisions that are made by individuals that are under their employ, takes a look at this and says, look, we need to reconsider how we have this laid out, then we'll step away and we'll let those folks decide whether or not this is something that's worth us dealing with, or should we just let this go. And so 2 other board members, along with myself, decided we also needed to step back as board members and allow for those folks who have had a different point of view and really a more conservative point of view than you would think would be a part of this public liberal-leaning radio station. And so we said, well, let's step back and let's let them sort out what they need to sort out, because everybody knew what the problem was. I mean, you know, one of the biggest problems of the station, it was underfunded. They didn't have any mainstream. It was public funded by listener sponsors. And so they didn't have a huge budget. So they had one gentleman who wore about 4 hats, and they were paying him a single salary. And that gave that individual an awful lot of authority and freedom to make decisions about things that perhaps would not have been made by that individual had you had some other people in place. And so until that board decides what they want to do in terms of changing their structure so that some of that responsibility falls to some other folks that they have to bring in, or assuming more of that responsibility as a board, then, you know, it's going to remain the same that it has been for the last, I guess, 10 years or so, when that individual became the station manager. So
I just feel like it got a little bit ugly at the end, and it didn't have to, and it wasn't necessary. In fact, a lot of us didn't even retort back to some of the anger that was coming through, and that's unfortunate. I don't think the watchers realized that, what we went through with that. And I don't know, but after the break we'll wrap that up, and then we'll talk about some of the local elections and help people understand the importance of elections, because I don't think people
we really got to drill down on that.
Yeah.
This is going to be a very important election.
It is going to be an important election. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We will be right back right after this short break. Stay tuned.
AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
I'm looking for a new adventure. When Jesus comes again, you know that he's coming back. He'll take us out of this world, rise and
some of the reasons people get into trouble with credit cards. A job loss or salary cut, an unexpected expense, a divorce, a business loss, or even helping a family member or friend in need. At Consolidated Credit, we understand that debt problems are not about overspending. It's about emergencies and unexpected situations. Consolidated Credit has helped over 5 million people, just like you. The options for getting out of debt have never been better. We can reduce your interest rates, cut your monthly payments, and help you get out of debt fast. The time to call Consolidated Credit is now. There are a lot of ways to get into trouble with debt. There's only one trusted way to get out: Consolidated Credit. When debt is the problem, we're the solution.
Call Consolidated Credit now.
Call 800-990-8939. That's 800-990-8939.
Watts Family Grill has the best ribs, chicken, and tri-tip in the valley. From delicious desserts to healthy side salads or homemade waffles, let Watts Family Grill satisfy your hunger. For fulfilling meals, stop by Watts Family Grill, located on 1448 North Blackstone in Fresno, California. Open Monday through Sunday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. Bad judgment? It happens. Don't face the law by yourself. Call Lawyers ASAP. With over 30 years of experience advocating for clients, get the most favorable outcome for your case. 1-888-524-6018. 1-888-524-6018. AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMPTV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.
AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley on CBS 47, Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news.
We're going to be talking about why do we need to have Cover California?
Cover California was something that Obama signed. Most people don't understand. Cover California original name was Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, and it's basically making health care affordable for everybody so that nobody's turned down by pre-existing conditions.
Is there a difference between Obamacare and Cover California?
Well, Cover California is basically a state program. So if you was to go into the government health care and want to look for health plans, they're going to refer you to Cover California.
AMPTV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley on CBS 47, Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Sundays at 6 a.m., right before the CBS 47 news. Welcome back to ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Dudley Najib. I'm here with guest host and friend Mel Sanders, and we were just wrapping up at Valley Black Talk Radio. Where do we go from here?
Well, a few things are in the hopper, and folks, you need to stay tuned because as we get closer to the new day that Valley Black Talk will reappear, you'll hear it right here.
Right
we
here.
are planning to reappear again on radio because it's such a necessity for radio. Mm-hmm. And so I think we'll be moving in that direction real soon. So you need to stay tuned and keep your ears to this station because you're going to be able to hear it right here.
And then speaking of that, in fact, Valley Black Talk Radio is still going to be handling the political candidates that will come through on this channel. So if you're watching AMPTV, the election special, it'll be with Mel Sanders or one of the other Valley Black Talk Radio hosts that will be on this show. So let's talk about local politics.
Okay. Well, let's talk about politics in general, how important it is.
Okay.
It's very important in terms of African Americans to participate because I don't care what you talk about or what you think about, you name it, I can tell you how politics is connected to it. Okay. And I'm so often disappointed when I hear people say that they're not interested in politics and they're going to do what they want to do anyway. It tells me.
Give me an example, though. You say it's not like everything is connected to politics?
The water you drink, the air you breathe, the food you eat, the gasoline you put in your car. Whatever you think, you name it, I can tell you how it's connected to politics. A politician at some point had something to do with that. And so since that's the case, we need to be connected to politicians.
Right.
And we have, within our own power, the ability to change everything that affects us.
Okay.
Even though we're the minorities in the community, we're like we're about 6% of the population of Fresno County. We can make the difference if if our votes are counted. If we stand up and go.
Depending on other people, though, because we've had this discussion before. We depend on the different political parties. I know that we know history shows the African Americans have gravitated towards the Democratic Party.
For
that's
years.
Changing.
That's how it's been for over 50 years. We have been very strongly attached to one particular party, namely the Democrats. And when it started, they needed us, because there was such a fight between the liberals and the conservatives, if you will, that they needed to have an alliance with the minority communities, and we were the biggest voting bloc of the minority communities. So the Democratic
So we had
Party,
power. That's showing we had power.
Exactly. So the Democratic Party aligned themselves with us, and they for a long time they were very they made sure that we were inclusive in everything that went on, and particularly what their party connected to. And as the time went on and we started being divided by moving to different areas of town and not being in one particular cluster where they knew there was a voting block here, they began to have less and less interest in our concerns. Okay. And so now it's a day that we have to reorganize and make the effort to gain the ear and the eyes of politicians who care about our agendas. No longer should we just be loyal to a particular party because of history. We need to have some.
Now, even though people say, just again, we're talking about history, that the Republican Party does not relate well to the African American community. In fact, they're trying to find ways to get back to the black community, right? They're trying to find a way to connect back there.
Well, in our state, the majority of the registered voters are Democrats. But there are so many people disenfranchised with the Democratic Party. This is a great opportunity for any other group, including the Republican Party, that wants to gain the support of the African American community, to put something on the table now that meets the agenda of the African American community. And I see lots more of that happening. I know in Mississippi, for instance, Thad Cochran, who was the senator that ran that ran back in June, I believe it was June, he was defeated. It was in I believe April or May. He was defeated by a Tea Party conservative. But the Tea Party conservative did not get enough of the votes, 50 plus 1%, to win outright. And so they had to go to a runoff. Yeah. And so the senator from Mississippi went to the African American community and said, look, you folks know where I stand. You know we don't agree on everything, but I'm better than that guy over there. Yeah. And I think we can work together. You know my history of giving to the black colleges, historical black colleges in the South and that kind of. So is there any room for us to connect so that you can help me win another term in the United States Senate? And I'm sure there were some conditions laid down by the African American leadership of Mississippi. They met that, and election night came, and he picked up more than 6,000 votes from the African American community, which put him over the top. And it just really sent a signal throughout the country that, wait a minute, you may have different party affiliations, but if your agenda can meet the needs of those folks who you need their support of,
and all that party stuff doesn't matter then.
Exactly. They will support you if you can meet their agenda. They really don't care if you have a D or an R behind your name. They just want who's going to listen to us, who's going to help us. And I think that's where we are now. And I see a lot more conservative politicians are trying to find common ground. Where can we meet with the folks who have been disenfranchised, who are just not voting? Because when you look at the actual voting history of African Americans over the past 15 years or so, it has been declining. But there's a reason for that. You haven't given me anything to vote for. Whoever party we've been associated with all along, they haven't given us anything to vote for. So since you haven't given me anything to vote for, we just won't vote. But when you give us something to vote for, yeah, we can support
But is there
that.
power in that as well? Not voting? Because I know we've had that discussion before.
It's kind of like silence is consent. Meaning the person, if you don't say anything, the very person that you didn't want to get there is going to get there, because the folks who are at the table to split the pie, they're talking to one another. They're doing what it takes for them to make it happen. The folks who are outside the game, if you will, and not at the table when the pie has been split up, are going to be continually left out. And being the African Americans in this country, we can't afford that any longer. We have to step up and make
So
sure.
then it is important to be part of the vote versus the silence
You
in this
have to be.
situation.
You have to be. You live in a democracy and a republic form of government where you elect someone to act on your behalf. And if you don't hold those folks you elect accountable to your agenda, you're going to be left out. You're going to be constantly complaining. And
Well, then let's talk about that on a local level. When we're talking about how does it affect us locally, which way the black vote should mobilize, because you still have people that are divided in parties and still see that party affiliation as more important than even the vote. Like that is the vote to them. Whoever's on the Democratic side, whoever's on the Republican side, then that's who they vote for versus the issues on the table.
I've heard this for a number of years, and I look at the people who say that, and there's a couple of reasons why I believe they say it. Number one is probably family tradition. Well, my father voted that way, my uncle votes that way, so I'm going to vote that way. And the other one is if you have a financial means that puts you in I'd say a middle class category, you're probably going to vote with the Democratic Party because you want to maintain status quo. You're not really interested in.
But look at our status quo. Today, status quo, is it really doing us any well if you're looking at the middle class, black middle class? How about the middle class overall?
It's declining.
It is declining.
It's declining.
So you don't want that. We don't want that status quo. That's the status quo that we're trying to change in actuality, right?
Yeah, but it's hard to teach old dogs new tricks. It's until they start feeling the pain, then they won't. But the bad thing, and perhaps it's the good thing about it, is there are more and more people feeling the pain who were in that status quo group who were saying, well, no, we just want to keep this particular party in power because, after all, we do have this. We don't have to worry about whether or not we're going to be able to meet this need because they've already taken care of this. But lately, over the past 10 years, it's not, at least 10 years, it's not been that way. It's been, hey, you don't even see us in the commercials with politicians anymore. I mean, just the little things that you would expect to see, things that touch our lives and everybody else's lives. You would say, well, okay, we're going to have some African Americans in the mix when we do a commercial. No,
and we don't see that anymore.
No, that's
on both sides.
Yes,
though.
either party.
Right.
It was lacking in the Republican Party because there was a lot of, I guess, bad blood or distrust because of the platform of the party and how it sometimes appeared to be a negative platform against African Americans. In some cases it was. But when you take a close look at some of the practices and policies of Democrats, they're just as bad.
Just as bad.
They may talk good, but the end result of that, the action of that, is it's very harmful and hurtful to African Americans. And if it wasn't, if I couldn't get sued, I'd be calling some names of some Democrats, some folks that we all know who are no friends of ours, but would come to our face and smile and grin and tell us, I'm with you, and we got to watch those guys
just
over
to get
there.
the vote, right?
Just for the vote. Yeah. So you call me off the air, I'll tell you.
After the break, I still want to talk about some of those local races that are coming up, at least so people have an understanding of the different boards and the ones that are up for election, so we can help them understand why it's so important for you to be a part of this vote. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. We'll be right back after this short break.
Let me tell you some of the reasons people get into trouble with credit cards. A job loss or salary cut, an unexpected expense. Consolidated Credit helped over 5 million people just like you. We can reduce your interest rates, cut your monthly payments, and help you get out of debt fast. The time to call Consolidated Credit is now. When debt is the problem, we are the solution.
Call Consolidated Credit now.
Call 800-923-4772. That's 800-923-4772.
MPTV Community Calendar brought to you by Salam Seafoods, Yoga Etc., and Watts Family Grill.
African-American sculptor and multimedia artist Mildred Howard will be featured at the Fresno Museum's Council of 100 Distinguished Women Artists for 2014 from September 26th to January 4th, 2015. For more information, go to fresnoartmuseum.org. The African American Museum will have a Founders Day celebration and membership drive Saturday, September 20th at 5 p.m. Admission is free. Come to 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California to join in the celebration. Save the date, Saturday, September 27th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Jack and Jill of America Incorporated Fresno chapter will have waffles, wings, and blingy things at the African American Museum, located on 1857 Fulton Street in Fresno, California. Vendor booths, tickets are available. Call or text for more information, 559-803-5182.
To submit your event to the AMPTV Community Calendar for consideration, sign up as a member at ebtradio.org. It's free, and post your event on the online calendar ebtradio.org. AMPTV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
Our ONME expert is featuring Marshawn Govan of MKG Insurance Agency.
Welcome. We're back here with Marshawn Govan, and we're here to talk about Cover California. Why do we need to have Cover California?
Cover California was something that Obama signed. Most people don't understand. Cover California original name was Patient Protection Affordable Care Act. And it's basically making health care affordable for everybody so that nobody's turned down by pre-existing conditions, whether it's Medi-Cal or if those individuals that need to see a specialist and just taking care of their financial health needs.
Is there a difference between Obamacare and Cover California?
Well, Cover California is basically the state program. So if you was to go into the government health care and want to look for health plans, they're going to refer you to Cover California. Cover California is the actual exchange where individuals that don't have health care can go on there and purchase those plans. There's 4 different plans that you can choose from. They're called metals. You have your bronze plan that covers 60% of your your costs. Then you have your silver plan that covers 70% of your costs. Then you also have your gold plan that covers 80% of your costs. And then you have your platinum plan that covers 90% of your costs. Depending on those plans that you pick, then that's going to determine how much you're going to pay, and also your income eligibility and how many members are in your household, where it's going to determine if you're going to get financial assistance as well as cost sharing assistance that will help you with some of your co-pays.
For a person that's just had a baby, do you recommend that they have health insurance through Cover California?
Well, I recommend any insurance because if you go to the hospital to have a baby, it's pretty expensive nowadays to have a baby without any health care or health coverages. And so, with having insurance, it'll cover some of that maternity costs for having a baby right now. Babies aren't cheap to have no more these days, unless you have it at home with a midwife or something.
Thank you, Marshawn Govan, for being here with our ONME Sunday morning. Next, we're going to be talking about the pitfalls of life insurance.
Find out more how you can be an ONME expert at our website. Go to onmebiz.amptvnow. That's onmebiz.amptvnow and become an ONME expert today. And we are back. You're watching ONME Sunday Mornings. My name is Julia Deli Najib. I am your host, and I'm also here with guest host Mel Sanders. And now we want to talk about some of those local races, at least the ones that matter that we need to be paying attention to. What are the top ones?
Well, all of them are important. I mean, they make decisions that impact our lives on a daily basis.
Okay. What about locally? If we're looking at...
You're looking at just city council races, board of supervisor races. You're looking at assembly races, congressional races. United States senators is up again. So it's... and then we have also something that most people overlook, and that is the Fresno County EOC Commission.
Let's talk about that.
It's an organization that's an action agency that has been around for 30 plus years, and their primary purpose is to assist those folks who are less fortunate, low-income folks, in areas that, a variety of areas. And they have a tremendous budget. I think they have a budget.
Because we've seen them, don't they help with the WIC program?
All of those issues, the government programs that provide health assistance and those kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're involved with that. And they have a budget of somewhere around $150 million a year. They have 24 members to their commissioners, and 8 of those commissioners are elected from target areas, which means that those folks are the folks that are voted on by people in those targeted areas. Normally, the targeted areas are board of supervisor boundaries, and so that's part of the way that's made up in terms of if you reside in a particular supervisor's area of responsibility, then they choose from those areas to serve. And a lot of people don't know that, and so it winds up being some of the same people being on the board over and over again, because most people don't know that, you know, they could have opted to put their name in the hat to be served. We have an election coming up this year, and the information is on their website. If you're interested in doing something like that, it's on their website, and they give you the timelines and what you have to do. And it's not a very difficult process to become a member, but it's more than just being on a board that's important. I think you have to understand why you're there and what your role is there, and not what's given to you by someone who's an administrator of that program. Sure, they can help you kind of understand it, but I believe their best approach would be to point you into directions where you can get that information yourself. Because if I give you the information, I'm pretty much going to give it to you like I want you to receive it, as opposed to, and it may be different from what you know.
It's going to be biased, right? It's going to be some bias.
I mean, you know, especially if it involves my paycheck. Right. I'm definitely going to not tell you everything about it. I'll tell you just enough to keep you right where you need. And that's true of all of the elected positions. I mean, you know, you have politicians who run on promises, and most of the time they don't keep them. It's hard to say whether there was an intentional not keeping it, or was it because they just didn't know how to get it done in the first place. But a lot of folks don't recognize the fact that probably the most powerful people in any political arena are the people who work for the politicians, because it's their job to do the day-to-day work and deliver back to the politician what they request in terms of information or avenues of how you can make things happen. And so, you know, when they put term limits in California to get rid of Willie Brown as the speaker, and you know, they just couldn't understand how this guy could keep getting reelected. We got to do something to get him out of here. So they put in term limits. But what they fail to recognize is that the bureaucrats who work in Sacramento are the same ones that were there when he was there. And so they're actually the people who are actually running the show. And when you look at overall, when you put term limits in, you made it where politicians then started looking for, how do I use this position to get me to another position or to get me to a job once I leave this position, as opposed to doing the work of what the constituents need. And so that's one of the reasons why you and I have that difference of opinion about term limits, because you think the guy
I believe
at the top
in term. I see what you're saying. I still believe in those term limits, because then you have people that have been in a position so long that they don't do anything, and they don't make it. Well, they got in those positions.
That work for them. Those are the guys that are pulling the strings from behind the curtains. They figure out what kind of individual you are, what does it take to keep you where you are, and still let me still run things behind the curtain. And that's where the change, I think, needs to be done. You're not going to, unless you're talking about, say you take the United States Senate. You had people in there that were 90 years old.
Right.
Hey, come on. Yeah.
That's why you need term limits. That's why that validates my argument about the term limits.
Term limits are, go to the box and vote for this one or that one. That's the term limit right there. If they're doing
That's not good enough. I think it needs, because sometimes people are outdated in how they handle situation, technology. Look at,
but that's not their fault.
Or
That's
if
the
I say
voters'
education, educational board should have term limits then. Can we agree
why
on
is that?
that? Because they're not as connected to what is going on with the youth. I mean, I'm looking at the State Center Community College District Board. I'm looking at all the boards that matter, and I'm looking at changes that need to be done that have not been done. Because you have some people sitting in those seats, and because it just feels good to sit in the seat, I don't know, but I don't see the changes that need to be happening. It's the people on the lower level that are having to do it. But the board should also be having influence on that instead of just having a seat.
Then there's two things I'd say. One is, I would agree that you have to have board members that are knowledgeable and understand what their role is and to be able to execute that. Excuse me. Number two, you would have to say that when you get to be a board member, before you get to be a board member, there should be some prerequisites in terms of who can serve. Your qualifications for serving. I have it in, you can't
qualifications, but what if there's not enough people to fill those seats at the time? That's usually the issue too.
Well, no, I think I'm saying this. If you do this, if you change the system, it used to be years ago, if you wanted to be a judge, all you needed to do was put your name on the ballot.
Okay.
That was the qualifications. You put your name on the ballot. Of course, people would assume you had to have some legal knowledge, but it wasn't until they changed the rules that said, wait a minute, no, we got to have folks who really know what they're doing to even run for this. Well, I think the same thing needs to be true with people who are elected to serve in public office, particularly in the education arena. You have to have folks who understand budgets, who have to understand.
But what if they do understand these things and they get in the office and they're corrupt, or they just don't follow through, or they listen to what their, I want to say,
their employees.
Yeah, employees. That to me, that's a problem. To me, it is. It's a problem.
Yeah, because they haven't been trained. I think training is very important. I think the training for a board member is extremely important because they have to know when they're being given a bill of goods.
Who's responsible for that training? You're talking about training.
Well,
because we've had that discussion too.
It has to be something that I believe the community has to insist that it happens. And I'm going to tell you what the game is. They put in place when we're not the first people to talk about this.
No.
So you go back and you look at the California School Board Association. It was created specifically for what we're talking about, to help develop and train board members to do a better job at what they do. Right. But at the end of the day, this is what they tell you.
Tell the truth. Let the truth come out now.
I've been to the training, so I know what they tell us. You and the superintendents are co-partners in education, which meaning that you're co-equal. Well, if I can fire you, you're not equal to me. Number one. So
no.
There has to be a difference in what the relationship we have from an administrator to a board member. And because people are intimidated because you'll see Dr. so-and-so or Doctor, he's a superintendent. Most people don't understand that you can, if you don't understand something, you can force them to slow down and explain it to us so everybody can understand. Not just and they use a lot of acronyms and those kind of things. And a lot of times you're embarrassed to find, you want to raise the question, well, what does that mean? But nobody else is saying anything, so they must know, so I don't want to be the only one that doesn't, so I'm not going to let the folks know I don't know. But, those kind of things have to be, you have to have the right kind of people sitting in those seats that are not afraid to ask the right questions, and they will, push back and make you slow down, Mr. Administration or Mrs. Administration, and tell us what those terms mean and what are the outcomes of this. But even greater than that, are we tired of time?
Still think that's easier said than done. But after the break, I guess we're going to wrap up our discussion about local elections. I still want to get to the educational boards that we didn't get to touch on. So right after the short break, we're going to wrap it up with Mel Sanders. You are watching ONME Sunday Mornings. AMP-TV is proud to bring you a combined effort of all the black media sources in the Valley. Stay up or set your DVR for AMP-TV programming on KC24 from 1 a.m. to 2:30 a.m. Let us be your source for what's happening in the black community. Saturday at 1 a.m. on KC24.
We're going to be talking about why do we need to have Cover California?
Cover California was something that Obama signed. Most people don't understand. Cover California original name was Patient Protection Affordable Care Act, and it's basically making health care affordable for everybody so that nobody's turned down by pre-existing conditions.
Is there a difference between Obamacare and Cover California?
Well, Cover California is basically a state program. So if you was to go into the government health care and want to look for health plans, they're going to refer you to Cover California.
AMP-TV can now be watched on TV anytime through our Roku channel or on your computer online at amptvnow.com. Better yet, go mobile, live.amptvnow.com.
Coming up next on AMP-TV, listen and watch uplifting, enlightening music through new music show, Urban Inspiration Music Connection. Watch ONME Sunday Mornings Part 2 on politics with VB Talk hosts Mel Sanders and Julia Deli Najib on the next ONME Sunday Morning Show.
Never know when, but thieves can steal your identity and turn your life upside down.
Hi.
Hi. You know, I can save you 15% today if you open up a charge card account with us.
You just read my mind.
Just one little piece of information, and they can steal your credit, your money, and ruin your reputation. That's why you need LifeLock to help stop crooks before your identity is attacked. And now you can have the most comprehensive identity theft protection available today. LifeLock Ultimate. So for protection you just can't get anywhere else, get LifeLock Ultimate.
Call 1-800-748-6976 or go to lifelock.com and try LifeLock Protection risk-free for 60 days. No risk means there is no reason to wait another minute. Use promo code COVER. Get LifeLock Protection risk-free for 60 days. Protect what you've earned. Call 1-800-748-6976. Use promo code COVER.